Dear Diary, am I the asshole for dropping my daughter off at daycare early so her teacher could do her hair? Parenthood is a journey full of unexpected twists and turns and challenges, and being a newly divorced dad of a 3-year-old girl has certainly kept me on my toes. It has introduced me to a whole new world of responsibilities I never imagined. Some challenges are exactly what I expected: balancing work and childcare, managing tantrums, and adjusting to the rhythm of single parenting. My daughter's care, happiness, and well-being are now my sole focus every other week when she's with me. But there's one aspect of this new arrangement that has been particularly daunting: her curly hair. I never anticipated this would be such a big deal. Let me set the scene. I have my daughter every other week, and while I've always been an involved dad, my ex-wife primarily took care of my daughter's hair when we were together. She had a natural talent for styling our daughter's beautiful, bouncy curls. My role, in comparison, was simple: get my daughter dressed, maybe make breakfast, and be the fun, silly dad. I never really gave it much thought, beyond marveling at how beautiful, perfect, and well-maintained her hair always looked, whether it was tied into intricate braids or whether it was left loose in soft, shiny curls. It wasn't until my ex-wife and I separated that I realized I had no idea how to replicate that. I thought it was easy and effortless. I was wrong. When the divorce was finalized and we began sharing custody, I was determined to be the best dad I could be. I didn't want my daughter to feel any less cared for just because her parents were no longer together. But from the very first week, it became clear that taking care of her hair was going to be a challenge. On my weeks, despite my best efforts, my daughter's hair was mostly a frizzy, tangled mess. I tried to brush it like I would my own hair, which I quickly learned was the wrong approach for her curls. I bought random detanglers and kid shampoos from the grocery store, none of which seemed to help. She'd cry during hair time, and honestly, I felt like crying too. I started dreading those mornings. I remember the first morning I attempted it. I grabbed a regular brush, one I used for my own short, straight hair, and tried to smooth out her curls. She yelped in pain as the brush snagged on a tangle, and I felt a pang of guilt. "Daddy, it hurts," she cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. I froze, unsure of what to do. I hate to see my daughter cry. I managed to get her hair into a lopsided ponytail, but it didn't look anything like the style she was used to. By the time I dropped her off at daycare, her curls were a frizzy halo around her head, and I felt like a failure. Things didn't improve much over the next few weeks. Despite my efforts, her hair always looked messy on my weeks. I tried to do research, but the internet was a minefield of information. There were tutorials, product recommendations, and styling tips, but I didn't know where to start. I bought random products, hoping they'd work, but nothing seemed to help. Her daycare teachers started giving me polite but pitying looks, and I dreaded the mornings when I had to tackle her hair. One particularly rough morning, I dropped her off at daycare, her hair wild and frizzy, and noticed one of her teachers, called Miss Emily, had hair that looked a lot like my daughter's. She had it styled beautifully, tight, bouncy, shiny, frizz-free, and defined curls cascading down her shoulders. On impulse, I asked her if she had any tips for me. To my relief, she did not laugh or judge me. Instead, she was kind and understanding. She explained that curly hair requires special care and offered to help. She nodded sympathetically and said, "Curly hair can be tricky. If you want, I can help you out." She offered to do my daughter's hair in the mornings if I brought her in a bit earlier, by 8:20 instead of my usual 8:45 drop-off. She even gave me a list of curly hair products to buy and tips on washing, detangling, and caring for my daughter's hair at home. I jumped at the chance. That evening, I went straight to the store with renewed determination. I felt like I was stepping into uncharted territory as I stood in the hair care aisle. Armed with Miss Emily's list, I bought everything she recommended: a wide-tooth comb, sulfate-free shampoo, a leave-in conditioner, a detangling brush, detangling spray, and a curl cream. It was more than I'd ever spent on hair products in my life, but I didn't care. My daughter deserved to feel confident and cared for. I read labels for terms like sulfate-free, hydrating, and anti-frizz for the first time. It felt like a small victory. The next morning, I adjusted our routine. We woke up earlier, skipped our usual sit-down breakfast, and instead ate granola bars in the car. I dropped my daughter off early at 8:20, as planned. I watched as Miss Emily gently worked through her tangles, applied the products, and styled her curls into two adorable puffs. It was like witnessing magic. She was so gentle, working through the tangles with ease, and within minutes, my daughter's curls were transformed into two puffs with colorful clips. My daughter's face lit up as she looked at herself in the hand mirror I held up. She beamed as she ran off to play, and I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time, I felt like I was doing something right when it came to her hair. I drove to work that day with a sense of relief and gratitude. This became our new routine. We adjusted our mornings to accommodate the earlier drop-off. Instead of having breakfast at the table, we packed it to go and ate in the car. Bath time was quicker, and I made sure to use the curly hair products her teacher recommended. Every morning, Miss Emily would style my daughter's hair, and every evening, I try to follow Miss Emily's advice for maintaining it. I learned how to wash her hair without stripping its moisture and how to apply the curl cream to define her curls. Slowly but surely, I started to get the hang of it. Over time, I noticed her hair looked healthier even on the weekends, when I left it down because I still was not confident enough to style it myself. My daughter seemed happy with the arrangement too. She loved the new hairstyles. She'd come home from daycare excited to show off her new hairstyles, twirling in front of the mirror. "Daddy, look. I look like a princess." Or, "Look, Daddy, Miss Emily did my hair like Elsa today," she'd say, spinning around to show me her curly braid. Her confidence soared, and seeing her so happy made it all worth it. It was a win-win, or so I thought. But this joy was short-lived. The trouble started when my ex-wife found out. One day, during a phone call with her mom, my daughter casually mentioned that her teacher did her hair. I didn't think much of it until my ex-wife called me later. She was furious. She snapped. Her voice dripped with disapproval, and her tone was sharp and accusatory as she asked me, "Are you seriously dropping our daughter off early just so someone else can do her hair?" I tried to explain the situation, thinking that she would understand. After all, she knew how challenging curly hair could be. I told her about my predicament and the struggles I'd had, and how Miss Emily had been a godsend and lifesaver to me. But she wasn't having it. Instead of seeing it as a practical solution, she called me a bad parent for relying on a teacher to do my job. "You're her father," she said, her tone sharp. "It's your responsibility to learn how to do her hair. You can't just rely on a teacher. Our daughter is not that teacher's responsibility," she snapped. She accused me of messing up our daughter's morning routine and being lazy. Her words stung. I wasn't trying to shirk my responsibilities. Moreover, I never will. I am not that kind of man. I was only trying to make sure my daughter's hair was cared for, something I clearly hadn't been doing well on my own. I was doing my best to make sure my daughter felt cared for. I had thought I was doing something good for our daughter, but my ex-wife made me feel like I was failing as a dad. Since then, I've started watching YouTube tutorials on styling curly hair and practicing on weekends. I attempted simple styles like ponytails and messy buns. I've made progress. They're not perfect, but I am trying. I have started second-guessing myself and questioning my decisions. Am I taking the easy way out like my ex-wife implied? Should I wake up even earlier to figure this out myself? Am I wrong to rely on Miss Emily's help? Or am I doing what's best for my daughter by asking for help? My daughter seems happy. She feels confident. Isn't that what matters most? I have even brought the issue to some friends, but opinions are divided. Some are praising me for seeking help and learning as I go, while others are siding with my ex and saying it is my responsibility to figure it out on my own. I have decided to keep the arrangement with Miss Emily, at least for now. Her help has been invaluable, but still, I can't seem to shake the guilt my ex-wife has planted in me. Isn't parenting about doing whatever it takes for your kids? Sometimes that means asking for help. So, tell me, am I the asshole for dropping my daughter off early so her teacher can do her hair?
Dear Diary.